Hello folks, it's Kissing88 here and welcome to the next installment of Beyond Zelda, your free online resource for learning about the ocarina. The information I'm referring to is on the Pure Ocarinas website, as you see on screen, which is also available in the form of a book, which is available for purchase on this website. So diving right into where we left off, we're having a look at the technical capabilities of the ocarina. Now, granted, this section is just a brief overview of all the, well, not all of them, but some of the capabilities of the ocarina. The techniques themselves are covered in more thorough detail and step-by-step instructions in sort of later sections. But in today's video, we'll just go through the technical capabilities that are listed on this page and give you a bit of a sample or a feel for what they are, and maybe you can do your own research and implement it into your own performance. Now, before we get right into it, I will show you a sample video of somebody playing the ocarina, I guess at a beginning phase of the ocarina playing. But what this demonstrates is that when you play the ocarina with a lack of technical capabilities, this is what you might end up sounding like. Yep. So granted, that was one of the earlier videos of Arawanach. He's actually quite a talented ocarina player. He went on to improve and then play more intricately, and he even performed on national TV as part of a talent show. So kudos to him. But that video is one of his beginner videos, which he has kindly left online, and I think it's a good study into the difference in playing that you can achieve by applying the various techniques. So the first section here is articulation. So articulation refers to how the notes in the performance are separated, and ocarinas can articulate notes in a number of ways. So using the tongue. So notes can be articulated using the tongue to start and stop the airflow. So tonguing is one of the earliest techniques that's taught in wind instruments, and it's where you sort of break up the notes, sort of using your tongue, like you're saying to or do between each note. So this is an example of playing without tonguing, and this is with tonguing. You can adjust how strongly you tongue. If you tongue at the stronger end of the spectrum and you sort of cut your notes a bit short, you end up with a technique called staccato. And the opposite of tonguing is slurring. So the next point here is you can change the pitch and you can slur the notes. So there are times where you want to slur the notes, and there are times you want to tongue the notes, depending on what kind of feeling that you want to create with your music. So slurring is sort of used when you want to, I guess, very generally speaking, you want to sound a bit smooth and gentle, whereas sort of tonguing, especially the sharp kind of tonguing, exists where you want to create sort of tension and sort of a bit of a sort of a more dramatic and powerful feeling. So, for example, slurring would work well in music such as this one. Whereas for a more sort of dynamic, upbeat song like Soraya's song, you might want to utilize a bit of tonguing. in practice, you'll use a combination of tonguing and slurring. I kind of do it subconsciously because I've sort of practiced, and my body sort of does it by itself, by feeling the music. And I would encourage you to practice and see where you want to slur, where you want to tongue. The next thing he mentions is using the fingers. Notes can be separated by sounding higher or lower pitch for a short duration, and that is perceived as an atonal blip or click. These sounds can be used in much the same way as tonguing and are called cuts and strikes in Celtic folk music. So I think what he's referring to is you can sort of blip your fingers to create this sort of effect. And you can put those things in certain songs to, I guess, create a bit of tension, bit of emphasis. Okay, next section we get to ornamentation. So ocarinas respond very quickly to both changes in breath pressure and in fingering, and this allows them to perform a wide range of ornamentation, including breath and finger slides. So you can bend the pitch using your breath and your finger, and you can slide the fingers on and off as opposed to just putting them on and off. There's a technique called vibrato. So this is another big sort of technique taught in singing and wind instrument playing, or just about any instrument really. String instruments have vibrato as well. And this is where you sort of blow the air into the ocarina in such a way that it pulsates the notes, sort of like a wave, where you sort of go up, down, up, down. So I guess to give you a demonstration, this is what a note sounds like without vibrato. And this is what it sounds like with vibrato. And what I'm doing is I'm controlling my body's sort of muscles when I'm blowing to create that pulsating effect. Trills. So trills are where you sort of go, where you go back and forth sort of very quickly, like in a sort of fluttering sort of effect, and you can put that in to some songs as well. Turns, mordants, and grace notes. So they're little ornamentations that you can sort of throw in to certain parts of music where it feels appropriate. You can either sort of pre-practice that, or you can sort of improvise that during a song, depending on what takes your fancy and what sounds good to you. And those are used a lot in sort of Celtic music, but really any kind of music. So Celtic ornaments, including rolls, crans, and strike crans, may also be easily performed, and these are essentially an ornamental articulation of multiple sequential notes. So going back to our sort of beginner video demonstration here, let's see if we can take this sort of performance and add some of the techniques to it. Okay, well, here goes nothing. So I'll use some of the techniques that we've discussed. See if you can identify any. I might not use all of them, depending on how I feel while I play. Okay, now rather than me sort of playing, I've actually prepared or looked up on YouTube some my favorite ocarina videos that also really demonstrate some of these techniques. So, for example, here is a performance of Spring Maiden by Nancy Rumbel on the ocarina. They're a group called Tingstad and Rumbel, and there's some of the best sort of ocarina music online. And here she demonstrates some of the techniques. In particular, take note of the finger and breath slides that she uses to ornament her performance. Okay, and for some of the techniques like these turns, mordants, grace notes, and other sort of Celtic ornaments, I like to refer to performances on the mountain ocarina or the Coda EDC flute ocarinas. Here is Carl Ahrens, the owner of Mountain Ocarinas, playing Greensleeves, and he demonstrates some of those sort of ornamentation techniques. Go. So yeah, some phenomenal performances there. Coincidentally, they're both on the inline style ocarinas. Funny how that worked out. Okay, so moving on, he has a section on timbre. So, or how I've been mispronouncing it for years until recently, timbre. No, but apparently timbre is the way to pronounce it. So ocarinas can be designed to produce quite a diverse range of timbres, from extremely pure to noticeably buzzy, and these differences are created by changing the size and shape of the sound hole, and is fixed when the instrument is made. Okay, so then he makes some generalizations about how Italian ocarinas have a bit of a textured sound, and Asian ocarinas are generally very pure sounding. I don't particularly agree with that generalization, because I guess the terms of textured and pure are subjective to begin with. There are certainly many Asian ocarinas, especially made by sort of individual craftsmen and artisans, which are very textured. So, for example, this Icarus ocarina is one of the, I guess, quintessential Japanese ocarinas, and representative Asian ocarinas in that respect, is very textured. But then again, you also do have some Asian ocarinas, such as this Tiamo, which has, I guess, a pure sound as well. So I think it just really, I guess, depends. Also, not all Italian ocarinas have the same kind of tone. So, for example, I think I had it saved. Where is it? Yeah. So this is how a Giorgio Pacchioni ocarina sounds. this is how another Italian ocarina sounds. Who made? Oops, wrong link. That's not the one I was looking for. This one by Fabio Galliani. So as you can see, there's quite, I guess, diversity of the kinds of tones ocarinas make. Even within the categories of Asian ocarinas and European ocarinas, there's even diversity within its categories. So I think it's, for me personally, I think by sort of referring to the specific make of an ocarina is a more useful sort of I guess exercise than generalizing by Italian made or Asian ocarinas, because they all sort of sound very different. But anyway, I digress. So there are a few ways of varying the timbre of an ocarina while playing: by humming or singing while blowing. So so you can if you hum at the same time as blowing on the ocarina, you create this buzz or growl. And the way I sort of utilize this technique is sort of when I want to sort of emulate that sort of growliness, like you get in some sort of rhythm and blues singing, or like when a saxophone sort of makes that sort of dirty sort of growling sound. And this is one video where I've sort of tried to utilize that effect. So yeah, that sort of emulating sort of the spirit of Jack Black in my ocarina performance. I mean, it gets utilized by Osawa in this performance of Charadus. Let's see if I can find the moment where he does it. So yeah, so something different for you to play around with. Changing one's fingering and blowing harder or softer to maintain the same pitch. So to be honest, this is not really a technique I find myself using a lot, but the thing with ocarina is it will usually come with a fingering chart, or you'll be able to find a fingering chart online that works for your ocarina. But the truth is, you can also come up with your own sort of alternative fingerings, because what pitch you play in or what note you play is a factor of how much of the holes are closed. So for example, this is your typical fingering for B flat, but you can also finger it like this, and I have to blow a bit harder. So that's one way of playing the same note, either softer or louder, by using the different fingerings. By varying initial blowing pressure, so starting a note with abrupt pressure spike can cause it to briefly squeak and cause a percussive effect. So for example,